Goeienaand. Good evening, everyone. I hope you can hear me, and please, if you're online watching, feel free to use the chat side channel. And tonight what I wanted to do was just to cover some of the issues that I would like to use in live chats. And the first issue is really what sort of support will your family get if you come to or migrate to Australia? Now, Australia is a very embracing country, and why a lot of South Africans come here is because there are so many South Africans already living here, and you have a huge support infrastructure. So when you come here, it's not like going to Europe or going to America where there won't be as many South Africans, and the support that you get will not be as good. So that's probably the most important reason why people who have had enough of what's going on in South Africa move to Australia. Now, having said that, the opportunity work-wise here in Australia is fantastic. Now, one thing I should mention to you is that when you come to Australia, you'll find that things are a lot more expensive than in South Africa. Your rand is worth pretty much nothing. So financially, unless you've got money offshore, and I think a lot of South Africans do, but unless you got money offshore, you're going to basically have to start again financially. That's a real negative about this whole thing. But if you consider your family and your kids and their future, there is this little window which I've talked about earlier, where right now in Australia, they are embracing and encouraging white South Africans, and in particular farmers, to put in an application to migrate to Australia. And this is an amazing offer, guys, because Australia is so hard on its migration laws. It is very unusual for Australia to do this. So if you, as I said in another video, if you are considering coming to Australia, don't even hesitate. Just grab it in both hands and do it now, because we have federal elections coming up in middle of next year, and the Liberal Party, which is the party that's actually opened up this opportunity for whites in South Africa, could well be thrown out of government by the opposition party, which is the Labour Party. Now, the Liberal Party, just so you're aware, is actually a hung parliament, because it actually needs a vote of a couple of minor parties to actually get things done. And that's how close the politics is in Australia right now. So the reason I talk about this window of opportunity is because if the Labour Party get in, and there's a fair chance they will, they could well wind back this opportunity for white South Africans to migrate to Australia. So now is the time if you're going to do it, because if they do wind it back, it might be really hard to migrate over here at a later stage. When I first started, I talked about family, and any South African, especially white South African with young kids, should seriously consider about leaving that country, because the issues that are escalating in South Africa, especially when you've got people like Ramaphosa and Malema running the place, they are so indoctrinated, and I really think that now would be the time to get those applications. And as I said earlier, if you've been persecuted, which seems to be the key word as far as the Australian government is concerned. I mean, I don't know what persecution involves. Maybe it's just if you feel scared and you live in a house with barbed wire around it and stuff like that. But the key thing they're looking at is people who feel they've been persecuted. And, if you've been a victim of an attack, I think your chances of getting acceptance in South Africa will be a lot better. But the education system here in Australia is fantastic. Okay, we have a public education system which is free, and we have a private education system as well. And a lot of South Africans actually send their kids to the private schools. They're quite expensive. But, when I talked about the cost of living in Australia, I should make this point quite clear. The opportunities for building a great business in Australia are far greater than in South Africa. There's no question about that. If you've got an expertise in a particular area, you can do really well. And there are so many South Africans who've been here 10 years, who live in beautiful houses. Their kids go to private schools, and they couldn't be happier. And there are communities of South Africans. They get together and they have barbecues and they proudly tell. And, it's almost like a mini South Africa in many ways. The major advantage is you don't have to look over your shoulder all the time. You can leave your house unlocked. You can, the crime here is, we do have crime. And I'm talking about, places like Perth and Brisbane and so on in the cities. But on the farms, I mean, literally, you can go away for a week and leave your house unlocked and you'll be fine. The crime levels here are very, very low. To give you an idea, if someone in my suburb here in Brisbane gets broken into, their house gets broken into, it makes the local news. Someone broke into this house and stole a couple of CDs or whatever it might be, that makes the news. That's how minimal the crime is here. In South Africa, I know that you've got to have some huge event before it actually makes the news, because there is so much crime going on there. I have never, ever experienced a theft in 30 years of living in Australia. And, it's a totally different environment. Once you're here, you can relax. It's a lovely, peaceful environment. And yes, there is crime, just like anywhere in the world, there's crime. And we do have other issues. I mean, there is a drug problem here. There are quite a few people who are on different types of drugs, which is an issue, and the government's trying to deal with it. But talking about drugs, that brings me to the public health system here in Australia. I know in South Africa it's under incredible stress because, just like everything else, it's not being maintained properly and it's run down. Here in Australia, the public health system is fantastic. Okay, it's absolutely amazing. You can take private health cover if you want. I don't actually use it, but I'll give you an example. In 2006, just after I'd come back from a visit to South Africa, and I was actually at Klaarwater, which is about an hour south of Grikwaton, and just looking at the area where the Griquas had first come through and having a great time. And I felt these stabbing pains where my appendix was, and I thought, oh, that's not good. But it never went any further. And I got back from South Africa and was, working in my office in Brisbane. And I just got some Indian curry takeaway, and I'd eaten that. And about 20 minutes later, I had this incredible shooting pain through my side. And I thought, oh my God, what was in that curry? And I thought I'll just go and lie down. And oh God, that pain just got worse and worse and worse. I thought, no, this is not working enough. I've got to go and get some help. So I phoned up the local medical center and said, look, I've got an emergency. I've got this incredible pain in my tummy. And they said, come straight up and we'll have a look. So I drove up. It was only about 1 kilometer away from my house. And by the time I got there, I could hardly walk. I mean, I was doubled up in pain, and I kind of lurched into the medical center, and the place was full of people. I felt an absolute idiot, but I just collapsed on the reception counter. And the woman looked at me with these big eyes and said, oh, you must be the guy who found out. I said, yes, that's me. So they helped me through to the back and put me down on a bed. And they filled me with morphine, and they said, yeah, it looks like your appendix has burst. So they called an ambulance, and the local public hospital I was taken over there and straight into the emergency ward. And they took my temperature, confirmed that my appendix had ruptured, and I was taken in for surgery. And The next morning, the doctor came through and said, "Hey, you were really lucky because your appendix burst in a huge way and septicemia had set in, and we had to drain you about 3 or 4 times." And they did keyhole surgery to do all this. And I was in that public hospital for a week with a huge amount of antibiotics and had my own bed, drugs coming the whole time. And after the week, they gave me a prescription for drugs. And I signed out. I didn't pay 1 cent. Didn't pay 1 cent. And the doctor and his team were private doctors who were brought in to actually get rid of my issue. The only thing I had to pay for was the prescription, the antibiotics, which cost me something like $16. So I went to hospital, I had the operation, I had all these drugs for the week in a public bed, cost me zilch, nothing, nada. So the public health system here is amazing, which is a huge, huge reason for considering coming to Australia. Okay, as far as Social Security is concerned, that is extremely good as well. Here in Australia, obviously, if you're going to migrate here, they want to know that you're going to work. They're not going to say, "Hey, go on to public some kind of social security system and get paid." They're not going to accept that. So what you need to do is have a job or have a career or have some expertise that they want in Australia. And of course, they want white farmers because they've got all this land. So when it comes to Social Security, when you hit, it's going to be 67, I think, in a couple of years, and you don't have an income from your own pension, they will actually pay you fortnightly a pension. And if you don't have a home, they'll actually organize a home for you. So there's tremendous support for people who are moving into retirement. Retired people coming to Australia, I think, might have an issue because of what we're talking about here. So I think you've got to be about 40 or below 45 to be considered to migrate to Australia. So at least you've got 20 years plus of working life ahead of you before they will actually consider that. Now, as far as the Australian passport is concerned, I've found it to be one of the best in the world. I mean, you do have to get visas when you visit countries like a lot of African countries, but then I think most people do. America, you can just get what's called an e-visa, and you never ever have to, go through the process of applying for a visa. The Australian passport is fantastic. You can go right around Asia and you don't even have to worry about visas. It's that good. Okay. Now, what about the future? Okay, now, Australia has been colloquially called the lucky country. And it is the lucky country because the only thing you really have to worry about in Australia is obviously putting food on the table. All the sort of issues that worry you in South Africa just disappear, they fall away. And we are the seriously lucky country. All right, look, I see there's several people watching, but there's no one contributing in the side channel. So I'm going to wrap up now, but I'll have one of these like live chats every Sunday night at about 8 p.m. South African time, so that if there are issues you want to discuss or things I can try and help you with, I will. But please feel welcome to just participate and, let's see where we go with this. What I would like to do in the future, and I did mention this in my little promo of this video, what I'd like to do is to, when this starts taking off and more people participate, I'd like to have experts in different areas of Australian migration and stuff like that, who can come in and answer questions and stuff like that. But obviously, once we get the traffic coming in and people starting to use the side channel and so on. So it's been lovely chatting to you guys, and just mark in your calendar 8 p.m. next Sunday, and we'll do this all again, but we'll find another topic to talk about. But have a great evening. Just for the record, it's 4 o'clock in the morning here in Australia, so I got up early for this. Okay, take care, guys. And I'll go out with this this lovely Sonja Herholt song again. Umfahren, isn't it a beautiful song? Okay. There we go. Take care.
Umfahren,